Look, if you think the global AI race is still just about building a slightly smarter chatbot or, generating quirky images, we've really got to update that mental model. This is no longer just about the software on your phone. It's literally about the design of the global order. Based on this really fascinating trove of strategy documents, intelligence plans, and global reporting we've seen from the spring of 2026, the AI race has completely transformed. It is now a highly visible, incredibly high-stakes struggle for actual state survival. We are talking about something that touches absolutely everything, from the microchips sitting in our servers all the way to the massive oil tankers out in our oceans.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline from late April 2026. Just look at how rapidly these seemingly disconnected global events hit the wires over just a few days. I mean, you have MIT reporting on tech workers actively sabotaging their own AI replacements, happening right alongside foreign policy essays urging massive U.S. military consolidation. Then, boom, Japan starts normalizing its defense posture, China blocks a major tech acquisition, the UAE shakes up global oil markets, and we get this dire warning about completely unregulated autonomous AI systems. So what we're going to do in this explainer is connect these dots and show you how they're all actually converging into a single, massive macro trend.
To make sense of this massive web of geopolitics, technical standards, labor psychology, and physical energy constraints, we're going to structure our explainer around these 5 core pillars: AI estate capacity, the new AI sovereignty, the agentic governance gap, labor, legitimacy, and delegation, and finally, infrastructure and global bottlenecks.
All right, kicking things off with Pillar 1, AI estate capacity.
Here's the core shift. The entire focus of international competition has moved way beyond just measuring whose AI model performs best on a benchmark test. Now, it's all about how effectively a nation can implement AI across its entire society. There's this internal Great Powers Competition plan from early 2026 that makes an absolutely crucial point. It says the visible, kinetic wars we see on the news, those are actually just surface expressions of a much deeper struggle over rules, infrastructure, and coercive leverage. And this lines up perfectly with an essay by strategist A.W.S. Mitchell in Foreign Affairs. He argues that the U.S. is overstretched and essentially forced to consolidate its strategy around multi-domain infrastructure and core industrial capacity, rather than just prepping for traditional warfare. In this environment, AI isn't just a weapon, it is the central nervous system of a state's resilience.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, the new AI sovereignty.
So how are states actually redesigning their industrial and defense blueprints to survive all this? Well, we're seeing 2 very distinct structural strategies emerge here. Japan has this approach they call open networked sovereignty. They aren't trying to build everything entirely from scratch. Instead, they're going for selective autonomy, building really deep integrations with trusted partners, and making themselves totally indispensable in physical AI. On the flip side, you have China utilizing what's called an organizational control model. The Wall Street Journal reported on Beijing blocking Meta's acquisition of the AI firm Manus, which is a perfect example of this. They are prioritizing keeping AI talent, capital, and strategic capability tightly within political reach. It's just 2 entirely different philosophies for maintaining state power.
And to really put the scale of this into perspective, just look at this number, 387.3 billion yen. That is Japan's proposed fiscal year 2026 budget specifically allocated for developing a multimodal foundation model for physical AI. They want to bake AI directly into their manufacturing, their robotics, their logistics, the whole shebang. This totally proves we are way past niche software development. This is massive, nation-building state capacity at work.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, the agentic governance gap.
Now, while nations are busy scheming over these grand geopolitical strategies, the actual technology is racing forward completely without guardrails. Welcome to the era of agentic AI. A really vital 2026 report by Tom Sato lays this out clearly. We are no longer talking about chatbots. These are systems utilizing protocols that allow them to autonomously call tools, make decisions, and execute real-world actions like moving money or deploying software code completely without human intervention. The AI is acting as an independent agent now.
And here is the truly terrifying reality of deploying independent actors without safety checks. 437,000. That is the number of compromised software downloads that happened in a single supply chain attack targeting these exact AI systems in early 2026. Sato's report essentially quantified a massive, glaring vulnerability. We are launching these autonomous agents into the wild at breakneck speed, but the structural security just isn't there to support them.
Think of it like this, using a building code metaphor. We are rapidly constructing these towering, beautiful agentic AI skyscrapers, but we completely forgot to install the fire alarms or structural engineering codes. SADA points out 4 totally missing governance layers: identity, authorization, attestation, and audit. Right now, there is basically no standardized way to verify who an AI agent is, what it's allowed to do, or how to hold it accountable when it inevitably makes a mistake. It's a staggering blind spot.
Let's move to Pillar 4, labor, legitimacy, and delegation.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound friction this transition is sparking in the real-world labor market. Listen to this visceral reaction captured by MIT Technology Review. Tech workers in China described feeling totally alienated and cheapened when their employers demanded they document their workflow just so an AI agent could learn to replace them. Actually, they started improvising these anti-distillation sabotage tools, stuff like fake data sets and spoofed GitHub projects, specifically to resist having their hard-earned skills extracted. And that introduces this fascinating legal and ethical ambiguity. Are your personality, your professional tone, and your tacit human judgment corporate property that a company can just train an AI on? Or are those fundamental human rights? And it's not just a fringe issue for software coders. Japan's AI white paper actually cites OECD warnings that 27% of all occupations face severe automation risks, requiring managed transitions. This is a massive labor shift that governments absolutely have to manage, otherwise they risk widespread political backlash and a total loss of legitimacy.
Finally, Pillar 5, infrastructure and global bottlenecks.
Okay, we need to ground all these abstract concepts in hard physical reality right now. Because let's be real, none of these fancy AI protocols matter at all without the hardware and the electricity to run them. That Great Powers Competition plan we mentioned earlier, it explicitly warns strategists to focus on these narrow physical constraints of power. The cloud is basically a myth. The internet is aggressively physical. To run AI, you need semiconductors, which need advanced lithography. To power the massive data centers, you need transformers, pipelines, and oil tankers, which then rely on maritime insurance and shipyards. If a nation can choke off just one of these physical bottlenecks, they can literally paralyze an adversary's entire AI infrastructure. And Japan is playing this physical game so brilliantly. According to their white paper, they're using this concept of watt-bit integration. And just look at their market leverage. They hold massive global market shares in the raw materials for physical hardware. 28% of all semiconductor manufacturing equipment, 53% of silicon wafers, and a staggering 78% of photoresist materials. By dominating these physical bottlenecks, Japan is making sure they remain a globally indispensable power.
And the energy constraints are getting so ridiculously severe, they're actually looking beyond silicon altogether. A Live Science report recently highlighted Cortical Labs, who are experimenting with biological computing using roughly 200,000 lab-grown neurons paired with electronic components. Now sure, this tech is in its absolute infancy. It's a long way from replacing a modern GPU. But the fact that significant infrastructure attention is pivoting toward experimental, low-energy biological hardware, that tells you just how desperate the AI power scarcity problem has truly become.
And that energy scarcity is colliding head-on with global volatility. Bloomberg reported on Abu Dhabi's potential exit from OPEC and OPEC Plus following regional conflicts. So, right when global AI demands are placing unprecedented, insane stress on energy grids, traditional oil governance is becoming highly fluid, super transactional, and much less predictable. It's all entirely interconnected.
And this brilliantly illustrates the entire macro trend. Just look at this comparative assessment. Whether we're talking about alliance competition, the race for sovereign AI, the terrifying gap in agentic governance, the brewing labor crisis, or sheer electrical power shortages, all of these domains involve distinct key actors and distinct risks. But the common thread across the board is undeniable. AI policy is fundamentally, absolutely inseparable from state capacity across every single one of these vectors.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative question. The era of debating whether governments should adopt AI, that is completely over. The reality of the Great Recoupling means the only question that actually matters now is this: can they actually govern the deeply fragmented, politically volatile, and physically constrained world that AI is rapidly creating around us? It's a massive challenge, and how states answer it is going to define the next global era. The geopolitical game has changed, folks. Keep your eyes on the infrastructure.